ask your parents or guardians to write letter in saying that you prefer to go online because of maybe you COVID, worry about COVID, something like that. Huh? All right. So remember, yeah, parent and Noel.
Okay.
Mm. Okay. In any case, I just went to check our Cisco lab. The new computers are already there, but it's not fully set up yet. Alright, so I think even if you go to the lab, it's not ready lah. But the new computers are there already, and also the all the hardware is there. The rack, um, the rack for the switches and the routers actually also already arrived. We got two at the back, so that means I really hope that maybe within the next couple of weeks, uh, the computers and the switches and the routers and the racks are all ready, then maybe you can choose one practical, okay, to maybe try out the lab using the real hardware, right? Okay, but I'll update you guys as soon as the lab assistant said that she has set up. So I asked her to actually the capacity is 20 something PCs, but I think can for SOP wise can fit in 14 students lah. So no problem for us. All right, all right. So we'll talk soon, yeah. Hello, Noel. What do you mean by change flashback in somewhere in week 9? Mm, yeah, should be. Yeah, I will update you. I'm hoping that CT can basically get everything ready by then lah, right? I think 1 week should be okay, but I think she need a little bit of time because one of our lab assistant is COVID positive. So this whole week, I think the other lab assistant, Sean, will not be in. So only CT alone. Yeah, found out COVID positive. Right. So only CT alone. She will try her best lah, but I'll see lah. We'll try to make the week 9 work. Okay, I'll update you. Yeah, I also asked City to update me as how her progress. She only need to basically set up. In fact, for us, three computers is enough already. So I'll update you guys. Okay, so let me just check out. Okay, I believe I've always updated that article for week 7, which is to implement the HTTP version 4. So you'll find that inside our Google Classroom, okay, week 7's implement the HTTP version 4. That's our lab for this week. Right, so let me just open that for us. And yeah, also the packet tracer, I also, I think, hang on, yeah. Hang on, not the HTTP, is it the HTTP? Let me just check. Yeah, the HTTP. Right. So the weekly exercise for homework also I've already updated. There should be two. Just that. Okay. So week 7. Okay. Let me just share my screen. Mhm. Okay. As you can see, so lab practical is for week 7 is this one. If you know there's division 4, and that's the one here. And you can download it so you can work on it. Yeah. And the other one is let's talk about this one here. So our weekly exercises, week 7, there are two. Okay, so configure PAT or port-based address translation, and also the network address translation. So there are two, right? PET and NAT. Okay, two packet tracer for you to do as homework. And I think it's here, okay, here and this one. Right. Okay. So let's open up our laptop. We go. Mm, share. Okay, so let's have a look. But you guys can see, yeah?
I can.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So yeah, I'm going to be disconnected for a short while, right? Because I'm using hotspot right now. Maybe that's why it's slow. Okay. Um, hang on now. I'm trying to connect to another one. Uh, should be a little bit faster. Okay. So, so looking at it from a different screen. Yeah. So you guys can see. Um, Let me just increase the zoom. There's a zoom here. Zoom, 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 zoom. It should be okay. You can see it. All right. So this again, we start the practical by using our packet tracer. Yeah. The blank, just blank packet tracer, and then we just drag in our switches and routers and PC and devices. You need to create exactly the topology like this, huh? Drag in two of these routers in, and then two switches, and then PC at each end of the switch. Right? You can label the PC dash A, PC dash B. Right? Now, and then after that, you can use the straight through connector to connect all the devices together. Yeah, and make sure that the port, okay, you follow the port exactly so that you can follow, right? You can follow the lab, and it doesn't become confusing. You can just follow the ports, which ports or which interface you use here, the numbering. Okay, so let's look at this. This is addressing table, right? So all we need is here. Take note that whenever you see something like this, it's normally it means it's a sub interface, right? So just by looking and understand the topology, look at the addressing table, you can straight away see Yeah, we are given here on the R1, G1 is actually works as a router and a stick, and we've got the sub interfaces here. Just take note, yeah. Later we'll see that the configuration wise that we need to do. Then router two is not working. It's not working on sub interface, so we can that's normal. And then we have VLAN 200, VLAN 1, S1, VLAN 200, S2, VLAN 1, and then PCA, PCB. You notice that usually you are given IP address, right? Static addressing. But this time, what we have is DHCP. So that means we will have to set up a DHCP server, right? So inside Packet Tracer, you just open up the configuration for your PC. Select instead of static, you select dynamic or DHCP, yeah. Right. So and you're given a second table here, which is the VLAN table. As usual, you always ask because um, the basic settings, right? That exactly it. Because by default, the router, the switches, the default configuration is very basic, right? So you need to always do these basic settings, yeah, or configuration, basic configuration. If you've been saving those commands before, this part one should be very quick because what happens is you look back through your save configuration, pick those that is required, customize it based on the requirement. Once you've done that, copy, paste into your router, switches, whatever, and then you're done, right? So for every practical that we do, whenever you encounter the command, you should do that, right? For example, creating VLANs, you can list out the commands, creating trunk links, creating all this, right? So if the VLAN routing, all the commands for router on a stick, for example, how to create all this so that every time if you need to do, you don't have to search for the commands. It's already there. So for vision purpose, also good. For SBA purpose later on, also good. All right. So I need you guys to have a way to store these things, right? Aaron, no, Kelvin. This is just um, technique, technique, right? Because especially for SBA, you have very limited time, so you don't have time to go and look for whatever command and you're not sure, then you have to customize it. So if you save it, right, then you can just customize it. Once you're done, copy, paste, configuration is done, right? Okay, so VLAN table, we have VLAN 1, 100, 200, 999, 999 parking lot. Parking lot basically is a way to put those unused port or interface, in this case for switch one ports, to go to somewhere a black hole, right? So this is a good practice. Good practice. Whenever you have a port that is not assigned, right? Not assigned, put it in parking lot just in case it is not shut down. That means it went up, right? And someone plug in, but it's pointing to a parking lot VLAN which is not used at all, right? So it's part of security. Then we have the native VLAN. Take note of VLAN table because you have to create it later, yeah. Right. So part one, part two, part three. The part one is just to build the network, follow the topology, follow exactly which interface, which port to use, and perform basic configuration, right? Then configure and verify two DHCP version 4 servers on R1. And then configure and verify a DHCP relay on R2. So we do the DHCP version 4 servers first, and then we do a relay, right? Relay, remember relay, because DHCP doesn't work beyond one port. So remember that we still need to be able to access the DHCP service beyond one hop. That means um, we need to allow, even though it's broadcast, we need to allow somehow the router to forward our requests, right? So that means a transformation between broadcast to a single unicast, which is the relay. So that means it will go direct to the DHS, DHCP server, right? So that's a relay. But before that, part two, we need to configure the DHCP version 4 servers first, right? So if you look at this here, R1 is where the two servers, DHCP servers are, and then DHCP relay on R2. So here is the relay, right? Relay here. So the DHCP is here means PCB. If the DHCP server is in R1, PCA can easily access it because it's in the same LAN. This interface is in the same LAN as PCA, so can access R1. But PCB is beyond one hop. It's two hops away. So PCB without the relay cannot access the DHCP server R1. So R2 must relay. Okay, must have a relay here, DHCP relay to relay request from PCB into R1, right? And you can see PCB also requires DHCP. Okay, that's what we want to configure and test later, right? So take note of the model number when you're dragging into your canvas on your packet tracer. Choose the similar model, right? And then here we go, part one, build the network. You can see that um, the part one, right, configure basic settings is basically all that we have done before, right? Okay, so subnet network to meet the following requirements. Ooh, okay, so this is subnetting, right? So you need to do subnetting. Do you still recall how to do subnetting?
A bit.
Recall that you had to do subnetting in fundamentals computer networks, right? Yeah, the subnet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, borrow one bit, things like that, right? So it says here, subnet A supports 58 hosts, subnet B supports 28 hosts, and subnet C supports 12 hosts, right? So this is subnetting. So you subnet, this is the main address, and then you subnet. So if you need 58 hosts, you need 28 hosts, you need 12 hosts. It means this one will change, right? The prefix will change. Okay. So do your subnetting there, right? And then it will say record first. It means first IP means in that subnet. Once you create the subnet, right? So there are three here that you need to provide, but not necessarily there's no three, I think. It's either 2, 4, 8, right? So depending on the number of hosts available left. So you try to match as close as possible to the host, right? And then I think this one is subnetting. It's not saying via send, but if subnetting 58, yeah, if subnetting, then you don't have to do via send. You don't have to subnet, huh? You just subnet to provide. I think if you divide into 4, can support 58 hosts, right? 64, 62, 62 can, you have two extra. Yeah, if you just subnet without DRSM, you can actually cater for the 3 subnet and one left over, right? Still remember how to do subnetting? Kelvin,
I
follow bits.
think can remember lah, a bit lah.
Can you remember, Farron? That means you borrow one bit. Remember, this is class C, so slash 24, borrow bits, right? Because we need, there's no three lah. When you divide, you cannot get three. You can get two, and then the next one is four, right? So you borrow two, 24, 25, 26 slash 26, then you get four subnets. Okay, the one subnet can support 62 addresses. I think because it's 64 minus network and broadcast, then you get 62. I think is it 60? Uh, I guess you guys can confirm that. And then I think it can support the 58 horse. Definitely can support 28 drop. So I see that it says subnet. It doesn't say subnet to subnet. It doesn't ask you to do the VSM. So just do the subnet, right? So just one level subnetting, right? And then take note, once you have those subnet address, okay, the find out what is the first usable IP address for each subnet, then allocate. Okay. One, let's say, step 1A, record the first IP address in the addressing table for R1 for this. Okay. All right. So you do that, and then that means this one you work on paper or work on paper or do. But I can also suggest to you subnetting if you just go to Google and you can check subnet calculator. Because in this course, my emphasis is not on the subnetting, right? If I'm teaching you guys FCN, I want to make sure that you guys know how to do it manually. But since you already passed FCN, means I know you already know how to do manually, then you can do the calculator. Use the calculator type. Have you ever used online subnet calculator?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you can use that. I'm not um, too focused on the subnetting because that one is a previous, just already reached advanced computer network, so you can use those tools. Okay. Right. So cable the network as shown in topology. Make sure you cable on the correct port interface. And then configure basic setting for each router. Just follow the instruction here. Configure inter-VLAN, right? Recall that I said when I see the sub interfaces, that means that router on that router means that router is going to be the router on the stick, right? So this router on the stick uses sub interfaces. So I think this one also you've done before, right? Then perform the configuration here to create the intervalent routing, the router and the stick configuration. Then next, configure static routing. All right, static routing for both router. Okay. Okay. So that means so that they can forward. Okay, forward to each other. Right, static. So we're not using any EIGRP or anything like that. This is static. It means you are the ones going to tell. Recall the command to do that, to do the static routing. What it means is instead of the two routers, okay, exchanging information using ERGRP, since they're very simple topology, what you want to do is you want to help out the router because you see, there is for router one, it has directly connected network and remote network. The remote network it does not know about. R2 is said. R2 knows the directly connected network, but one hop away from R2, the network behind R1, then R2 doesn't know about it also, right? Since we are not using EIGRP, the question is asking us to do static routing. Means we have to manually put in the routing, this routing. So if you want to check what is the command to do that, go back to I think the chapter 1, part 8B, something like that. There's a command there, how to configure static routing. You're basically putting in the information into each router about the remote network. so that they know how to forward, right? You have to do this if it's not done yet because the DH, remember we are testing the DHCP. Once you configure the DHCP server, then the request can come from one hop away. So for example, the PCB, you're trying to go to router one, right? Then uh, router two know how to forward. Okay. All right. So after you finish that 5, then you turn to your switch, configure basic setting for your switch, and for the switch after basic settings, I think that one is normal, like you've done before. Then you have to uh, go and create the VLANs. Okay, again, these VLANs you know already how to create, right? So create VLANs on S1, assign the VLANs to the correct switch interfaces, and then manually configure S1's, the switch one's interface as a trunk. Because this trunk is needed is between the switch one and the router. Okay. Remember router one. Router one is router on a stick, so it needs the trunk link. Okay. So again, this one is done before. So step 9, finish, go to part 2. So now part 2 is the new part, actually the new content, which is the DHCP version 4 service. Right. So part 2 is going to ask you to configure and verify after you configure, so that make sure that it works. The DHCP version 4 servers on R1. Right. So if you think this one, yeah. So you have to refer back to your lecture slides to get the command. Command. I think you create the pool first, I think, yeah, and then enter all the information like gateway, right, etc. So, before that, you exclude first 5 usable address from each address pool. All right, okay. Okay, so we are just doing the DHCP version 4 pools for 2 supported subnets. Right, 2 supported. Just now we create three subnets, right? We call back I think up here. Yeah. Right? A, B, right? A, B. So R1, R2. So hang on. R1 is another subnet, RB is another subnet. So these 2 subnet are for VLANs at R1, right? So subnet C is a client's network at R2. So at R1, you're going to create the 2 supporting subnet. I think it's 2 supported subnet. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so only DHCP pool for subnet A is given below. Exclude by usable address of each address pool. The range, right? And then after you do the exclusion, the rest of the addresses available from each subnet will be part of the address pool. Okay, so you use a unique name for each pool, up to you. Okay, what do you give? Specify the network that this DHCP server is supporting. Make sure that the network address and the address it means it's in the same subnet. They're consistent. Configure the domain name as ACN lab. Configure the appropriate default gateway for each DHCP pool. Configure the line for 2 days, 12 hours, and 30 minutes. Next, configure the second DHCP for pool using the pool name R2 client LAN. So this one you name it yourself. This one you follow this name. Okay, so I think maybe you should give it the same R1 client LAN also. I guess pretty consistent, but up to you. If you use a unique name for each pool, right? So and then and the okay, so and the calculated network before router use the same domain name and this time from the previous pool, right? Okay. So let me just clarify. Yeah, it says here from each address pool, two supported subnets. Okay, we know we have three subnets, right? So here, I think we are talking about one of the subnet. Okay, the CP pool, right? So it says use a unique name for each pool, right? So create the pool, configure the domain name, configure appropriate import gateway for each DHCP pool, configure the distance. So I think it's one DHCP here, but two pools. Two pools. I'm not sure whether it's talking about two pools or one pool, but it says two supported subnet only. Oh, it says only the GP pool for subnet A is given below, right? So this one is subnet A. So this one default router uses and domain name is different from the previous. Okay, so basically two here and one here. Because this one is R2, right? What do you guys think?
Um,
We have three subnets. If we call here back here, all three subnets has got subnet address. A R1, B R1, C R2. So if you think about it logically, you need the HCP because they are, each of them have different network address. You need the HCP to support this, and this, right?
no, yeah.
Hmm. But the question here, I'm just a bit confused also. Question here said that two supported subnets. So you can see the means of subnet B is not supported because it says the DHCP server will service two subnet A and subnet B. So my thinking is subnet A is PCA, subnet C is PCB. Or else we cannot test, right? We cannot test. So PCB is part of this one. Oops. Clients 100 S switch 1 F46. So this one is VLAN 100. This one PCB is VLAN 1. It's not set. Okay. All right. So this one is C, subnet C. This one is should be subnet A, or else cannot connect. I cannot test the DHCP server, right? So that means we create A and C. So here is given A, right? Okay, and then here for G is actually the subnet C, right? Subnet C. So two, you have create two subnet A and subnet C, and PCA is belong to subnet A, PCB belongs to subnet C. Right? So that then you can test, yeah. Save your configuration, verify your server configuration by using these three uh, iOS commands, right? And then step 4 is you testing the what? Verifying your DHCP work, right? Go to PCA, you type config renew, then it will send the this discover. I think if it doesn't have IP address yet, then you'll see I am discover. If it's already got IP address, then you'll see request, right? And then once the removal process complete, issue the command ID complete to view the new IP information. Then you try to ping R1 G001 interface IP address, right? Then you configure R2 to relay. So this one is to do the relay. So we go to the second router. Okay, configure IP helper address and okay, and specify what is R1 G00 IP address. This one. On here, IP helper, and then the address is this one. Okay, R1 G00 address. So, yeah. Okay. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Right. Once you've done that, set your config, and then go to step 2. Then we test from PCB. So PCB is going to ask for the DHCP info from router 1. So if you did the relay correctly, router 2 will relay to router 1, and therefore you can see the PCB will get the IP address and other information, right? So other information like let me just check here. Did they give? Yeah, they give you this. I think default gateway, you have to check like the addressing table up there, right? And then I think the information here are all there. Also for the R2 client, the PCB, right? So here you test yeah, here you test the PCB whether it can actually um, renew and get the IP address. So after that, you can test out these two commands. These two commands show you the information that we learned yesterday, okay, for your troubleshooting. Okay, you can see the information there. And that's it. Once your PCB can get the IP address and so on from router 1, the DHCP server, then you're done. Any question?
No.
You can, yeah. So,
No.
can, all right, try that. Try first, right? Okay. So, what I'm talking about is earlier on. For those of you who have not used it before, you can do something like this. Format IP submit calculator. There's a lot, right? There's a lot. So, uh, to help you out, okay. And if you don't, if this one is not suitable for you, you can try other. Okay, you want to try the one that actually give you the list of subnet with the address and things like that. Okay, so example, let's go back to the subnet. Yeah. So our address is this. You want to submit that. Okay. So, okay. So subnet the address is here, and the subnet is 34. So the address is plus 0. So I don't know if this one is the good one or not. I think it just should show you, doesn't list out the result. But yeah, it still gives you a little bit about the information. Let me see. Ooh, okay. Borrow 2 to 26. 20. Borrow 2 becomes 24, 20, 26. Okay, let's see. Yeah, you can see 62, right? So, but it still doesn't, yeah, it does give you this, right? So then you can tell, okay, subnet A, B, and C. Then the last one, D, is not used now, right, for future use. Yeah. Any question? Yes.
No.
Sir.
Okay. So you want to try it out?
Sir.
All right, I try that. Calvin, Noah, and Farah. If you have any question, just alert me. One, two, three. Right. So that
No, well, got question, sir.
yeah. Okay. All right. What is your question? What's your question, Farah?
Oh, is there any students in the campus currently?
Oh, oh, okay. Um, I haven't gone down, but when I came earlier on, very early in the morning, just now because I had a class at 9, so it was about 8:30 or something like that. I saw students walking around already, but
No.
I also know uh, a lot of students preferring online at the moment.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I can probably just go and take a peek later and update you. Yeah, but I haven't gone down yet to check.
Oh,
In the morning,
okay.
I saw 8:30 got students already. I saw them walking around, but not a lot because it's very early in the morning, I guess. Yeah. In any case, for DHM hospitality, they have no choice. They will have to come because uh, they work in the kitchen, so can't really do online online practical. So they are required to. But for DCIT and JCB, business and IT, I think they give flexibility. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm. But once the lab is ready, I guess for your other classes, you guys are small, three only. So in terms of, I would think, in terms of SOP, quite good. Three, so you can sit further away from each other. If you want to come lah, right? So it's not as bad like other cohorts where they have more. So I think you can, if you worry about COVID, because your class is small, really, so that means you got distance. You can get a distance, right? All right. So
Okay.
okay. So I leave you guys to do. Then I check back. Huh? Is that okay?
Okay.
All right. Not as many as we would expect, lah, because I think a lot of them prefer online at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah. But I can see that there's some at the canteen. Not sure whether maybe because they are in class or not. But walking around, very few lah. Canteen, a little bit, about 10, 15, 20 gitu.
oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Part 2 is nearly done already. Part two configuring the R1. Okay.